Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs. Dave here. If you watched last week's exciting episode from DMAC Customs YouTube channel, we were playing around with door gaps and stuff like that on the old Area 51. This week I'm going to be looking at boot gaps, boot lid gaps I should say, and how we can just make them a little bit more even, tidy up some of the stuff from the original work I did last year on sectioning the boot lid and whatnot, and yeah, just kind of trying to get them a little bit more even in metal rather than in filler and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's might be time to actually have a look at the gapping on the old boot lid. So I kind of roughed all this in last year, and then roughed in all this last year or this year. I'm not sure when I did all this tail pan section, but I kind of got to a point where I thought I'll just leave it and then come back to it, and it's kind of getting to that point where it's time to come back to it. As you can see here, we've got quite a snug gap up here. It opens up a bit here and then through here, and this bit sits a bit high and that bit sits a bit low, and then that bit's a bit close, and then this opens up here, and then our kind of gap across the back there is not bad. That can be sort of addressed with a little bit of body filler or lead or whatever I decide to use in this. She's a bit snug here, it opens up here, bit snug there. You can see an old pen mark where I thought maybe I need to trim that a bit and weld it and stuff. Same here, it's a little bit open, so I might need to build this up with some weld and then reshape it, and then take that down and reshape it and try and get it all a bit more even, so to speak. There's probably still a little bit of playing around with the hinge bolts and stuff like that, loosening them off and tightening them up and moving things sideways and shit like that. We can definitely have a play with that first. That might address this uneven wider at that end, but then that'll push the whole boot lid that way, push it down at this end, which will open up gaps more up here, possibly in here, which I don't really want. Whereas if I pull it up at this end and tighten that up a little bit, that might be a way to go. If I can get it to sit pretty much right in this mock-up stage, then I know I can get it to come back together in the final kind of assembly. You know what I'm saying? If I know it's been done once, I know it can be done again. It just doesn't always work out that way. So yeah, I might try doing a little bit of adjustment before I start cutting and welding things. I haven't got much gas left still on my welder. I haven't gone and got it filled up yet. Slack, I know. Let's have a little tutu with that. Noisy neighbours, always banging and crashing and stuff. Okay, so as you saw, did a little adjustment on that boot hinge, pulled it back up the ways a bit, which did kind of make it a bit more even across the back, but man, it screwed up everything down here. So it's still tight down here, so I might actually just try sort of hammering that edge a bit. This is where part of the cuts and that were. That's probably the reason why that's out there, because I have already been in there. This side's not too bad, it's a bit wide, but I don't know, I'll figure something out for that. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a crack at pounding that back a little bit, try and even up this gap on this side, and then I might finally get round to doing the welding stuff that I need to do to build these edges up, make them a bit more roundy. Okay. So there's me tape line. This is where I want to go to. Down here we're all right there, but it's just this middle section here, from probably between there and there, that I want to see if I can get to open up some. Okay, so that's evened out that gap somewhat, which is quite good through here. So that means the boot lid will sit about there when it's locked, hopefully, and on its little stoppers, new stoppers. Really need to get some edge primer on this, the surface rust is really kicking in. So what else have we got to do? Let's have a look at the other side. This side here, that bit there's just a tad high, or that's a tad low. I'm not 100% sure which yet. To remedy that, do I smack that down a bit, or do I smack that up a bit? Try doing the up, or maybe try to do the down. I don't know about that. There's a seam right there, of what the factory seam, full of lead and shit. It's not really ideal. Could try knocking that up. Knocking it. That kind of worked, actually. But still got to trim that off anyway. Some weld on there. Got to take that out and weld that bit up into here, re-weld it, build that up there, grind it back. Same on the other side. So that's one's corner kind of tidied up, so my gap's a little better. Still got a big gap here, but I'm gonna have to think about that some more. I've been thinking about it for about a year, and obviously that's not long enough, because I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that. I don't want to weld all the way down the edge of it, and I don't want to cut it, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. The other side's a bit tighter. That's kind of where I'd like it to be. It's only a couple of millimeters, but it's enough to be annoying. Well, it could possibly, the whole boot lid could go slightly sideways. That might fix it. Might try that before I carry on. That, I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but just loosening off those hinges and giving them a little love tap sideways, now I've evened up my gaps. So that one is smaller and that one is slightly bigger. With that said, I'm much happier with that. Still different gap to what's up the top here. If I pulled it further back, nothing would meet up down here anymore, and it clears. So I think once it's all nice and shiny, it'll either stand out like dog's balls, or it'll be alright. It's really only this section from here to here that's a bit tighter through the middle. Down these areas here aren't too bad now. They're kind of consistent with the sides and whatnot. Oh, this is still going to be adjusted. But yeah. So there we have it for now. So next up is I'm going to build up some weld around that, trim that sort of stuff up around here, trim that out there, build this up a bit, and build up in this corner a little bit as well. I think just a touch, not much, but just a touch, and probably from about here I'll start building it up. Where my fingernail markers there. I think I need a new battery. Alrighty, so that's this back corner gap kind of tightened up some. Still a few little weldy pit marks and that. I'm not overly fussed in that, as you can see by the stuff around it. Still got to get in underneath there and clean up the under edge back here proper like. I'll do that once I take the boot lid off, getting it ready for paint preparation. That gap's actually a little tighter than the other side, but once the boot lid's going to sit about there. I could probably knock that down just a tad now. That's, if the boot lid's sitting there, it's probably sitting just a little high. Mind you, once I've finished filling that and that, it'll probably all even out. So I'll leave it at that for now. I've got tape stuck to my foot. Well guys, I'm gonna call that the end of this video on the old gapping up some of the trunk lid. A little bit more work on it. Still got a little bit more to do up the top, but getting pretty happy with how things are working up down the sides and around the corners and stuff like that. But yeah, once I'll take the trunk lid off and do a little bit across the top there just to even it out a little bit more. She's pretty close now, but just want to get her a little bit closer again. So leave it at that for this one. Thanks again for watching. Had a bunch of new subscribers again this time around, well, in the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks. So awesome. Thanks for coming on board and sort of watching the progress of the Area 51. It's a long process, especially when you've got to work during the week, you know, but got to pay for it somehow. And yeah, so stay tuned. Got some more stuff coming up in the old engine bay, with doing some bits and pieces in there. Still waiting on parts coming from America. They could even be in the country by now, or very close to it. Yeah. Oh, and I sprayed a little bit of rust converter stuff on there just to turn all that brown shit into black shit. So yeah, till next time, take it easy and peace. Draw pictures and play cars. See you all.